Hello everyone, Randumpz here with another video. Now, some of you know that I recently did a video about men go their own way, and I put it up on YouTube. It was just a clip from a podcast episode that I did with a friend of mine. But I was not expecting the backlash or the bad response that it would garner. I thought maybe some people might, come in and say, hey, you got your facts mixed up or something like that. But a lot of the responses were really negative. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of those incredibly negative responses right now, and we'll go through them briefly before I proceed any further. So let's just go ahead and check out some of the responses from some of the guys that I suppose have embraced men go their own way. So let's check it out. All right, so one of the first comments are from Super225. Randumpz, buddy, I strongly suggest you do a little more research on what MGTOW philosophy is about and why it is happening. There's nothing comical or a joke about this. Your ignorance on men go their own way is mind-blowing. Fair warning, you will get burned and trolled the hell out of. Just saying, don't say that you weren't warned. So, I mean, a lot of the comments that I got kind of start with this, where number one, it shows some sort of outrage at what I said, even though I made it clear in the prior video that I actually don't know much about men go their own way anyway. But a lot of the comments were about this, were usually guys either threatening to troll me or insulting me. So let's check out the next one, and after I show you guys a few more, I'll go ahead and respond. All right, so the next one is from Marlapola5454, men go their own way, and he just says straight up, Randumpz, men like you are not real men. So this actually made me laugh when I saw it. I know a lot of the responses and comments that I got are not intended to be funny. They're, from people who are angry. They're trying to insult me. They're trying to, they're trying to be hurtful in whatever way they can. I'm not so sensitive that my feelings get hurt from what people I don't really know say to me. So a lot of these comments, despite what the intention behind them were, I genuinely thought that they were really funny, and I actually really liked this comment. But this comment is somewhat ironic, and I'll tell you why. So from my limited understanding of men go their own way, one thing that they don't like, one thing that they are upset about, is the current society's definition or standard of what it means to be a real man. And obviously they feel that that definition, that standard, is held up by the courts and other things, which basically dictate to men what they can and can't do, and what is and is not appropriate for them to do as men. So it's ironical that he would say that you are not a real man. What Marlapola essentially has done here, even though he may be too stupid to understand it, is that he is essentially doing exactly what he criticizes society for doing to him or for doing to men that go their own way. Because it's one thing to say, hey, I reject society's viewpoint of being a man. It's another thing to turn around and tell someone else, well, if you reject my viewpoint of what it means to be a man, then you are not a real man. I mean, the stupidity here is just, it's mind-blowing in a lot of ways. It's incredibly ironical, and I don't think he really understands the irony of his words here. So let's just move on. Honestly, this was hilarious as it is, and I really hope I get more comments like this, because there's nothing better than being bored, turning on your phone, and then seeing a bunch of hilarious comments. Okay, so this next comment is kind of interesting. I couldn't fit the entire comment box into my window, which is why it may be difficult to read, but I'll read it for you. It's from Father Timonek. I can't see that properly, but he writes, the question is, why don't you relate? You will once you are married and see the truth. Really, you two are pathetic. You two have no clue. It amazes me how men that haven't been married or in long-term relationships try to shame men that have been through the court system and have learned their lesson. Prepare for a lot of dislikes. So aside from the lame kind of threat he threw in at the end there, I really don't care if my videos get likes or dislikes. I'm going to address what he said in his first couple of sentences, because what he is doing is, in a very indirect way, he's basically telling me why he has embraced men go their own way. It's very clear that this is probably an older gentleman who has gone through some nasty relationships and probably a bad divorce, from what he said about being married there. And that has, at least to some extent, shaped his perspective about women and ultimately led him to accepting men go their own way. So let me just address what he said to me. No, Father Timonek, I have never been married. So perhaps, I am slightly, more inexperienced than you are in that sense. But I have been in some serious relationships. And in the same exact way that your anecdotal experience of your relationships ultimately influenced your thinking and shaped your perspective, my anecdotal experience of my relationships and the girls that I've been with have ultimately shaped my perspective. So I've had some serious relationships, guys. Obviously, they've ended because I'm not married, but every girl that I've been with has not been nasty. I mean, I've had some serious relationships that lasted for years. When we ended things, yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of like, hey, this sucks. There was a little bit of disappointment. And obviously, you do get that emotional loss. But there was never at any point where either myself or my ex-girlfriend were vindictive towards each other, where we tried to get back at each other. I mean, I've ended relationships where I was with the girl for a long time. She really liked me. At some point, I stopped feeling that way about her. I ended the relationship. And even though she was really upset, ultimately, she accepted it. And I've had relationships where I really liked the girl and she's ended it with me. And even though I was upset, I ultimately accepted it and I moved on. Now, I could have stayed angry. I could have said, you know what, F her, this and that. But ultimately, I decided, listen, you can't actually move on from anything until you let go of the anger. Because if you're still angry about something that happened in the past, it means you haven't fully let it go. That doesn't mean you forget it. That doesn't mean you forgive. That doesn't mean that, you just go, oh yeah, you learned the lesson, absolutely. And if you're someone who has embraced men go their own way entirely from a rational perspective, where you say, you know what, given my past, I don't think that I would be happy in a relationship. I think that I would be much happier as a bachelor. Then I say more power to you. By all means, do it. But if you've embraced men go their own way, or this philosophy of, hey, I'm just going to give up on relationships, etc., and you've done it based on an emotional reason, or at least primarily on an emotional reason of some hurtful past experience that you had, then you're not really making a rational, decision here. You're making one that's based on emotion. And the fact is, over time, you might let go of that anger and it might lead to regret of, hey, why did I embrace this philosophy? But if you've embraced it entirely because you thought about it rationally, then by all means, go ahead. I personally, guys, when I end a relationship, I never stay friends with the girl. Not because I'm angry, not because I'm vindictive. It's just a principle that I've had. I've always thought it was, and this is just my own opinion, I've always thought it was really pathetic that sometimes when people break up, they want to stay friends. So why do they want to stay friends? Because they're still secretly in love with their partner and they just can't let go of the relationship. Whereas for me, no matter how much I like my partner, when the relationship ends, I'm not interested in being their friend. This really helps preventing any bitter feelings from coming up. Because, I mean, think about it, right? Do you really want to be involved with this person that you had a really intimate relationship with and now they may be seeing another person? So there's a lot of things you can do in a relationship that might prevent bitter feelings from occurring. But no, I have not had any relationships, and I've been in a ton of relationships, but I have not had any relationships where the girl I was involved with was so nasty that she was vindictive and trying to get back at me. Most of the relationships I've been in have been pretty healthy. So that's definitely shaped my opinion in the same way that some of the nasty relationships that some of you guys have been with have probably ultimately shaped your opinion as well. Okay, so this next comment was actually really substantive and I actually really enjoyed it. It might be difficult to read, so once again, I'll read it for you guys. It's from Augustus Flea Mailman, and he says, men go their own way, and I'm quoting him here, so excuse my language. Men go their own way has 5 levels, but I'll tell you what, I promise to listen to your next video when you know what those levels are. Most men go their own way are just men who have swallowed 2 red pill. I think he means the red pill. Often through divorce, which regretfully is the end of the majority of marriages these days, where losing one's wife is bad enough, but losing one's house, losing one's children, and finally becoming a ward of court through being unable to pay the upkeep. So would you like to go to prison where self-education was never a bad thing? Mention the goblin, I don't know what he's saying here. Mention the goblin who had to give his stream a thumbs down, adding, best not to put men go their own way in the title. You will be demonetized by YouTube if you do so. Study the system, choose wisely, men go their own way as a philosophy. Good luck with your learning curve. Let me know when you are more educated on the topic, I suppose he means. Especially study about family courts and no-fault divorce, where everything is the individual's choice. There are no rules. It's not a movement. It's a learning curve. So I actually really liked this comment. I mean, it was pretty respectful for the most part. And he more or less kind of focused on a few specific things that I suppose, led him to embrace men go their own way. So he mentioned family court, he mentioned no fault divorce, he mentioned the fact that, or he at least implied the fact that the courts are slanted more towards the woman, and then therefore in a divorce, it's usually the man who's going to have to pay out of pocket, I suppose, expenses, monthly payments to her, etc., either for the kids or other payments. So I actually really enjoyed this comment. Once again, it was kind of substantive. He did focus on it. I don't know if he's talking from personal experience, or perhaps he's just he did some research into it and he looked at some statistics or not. I actually really enjoyed this comment. And I found it a bit more informative than some of the other ones where people were just calling me a simpleton or an asshole or really whatever it is. Now that we've gone through the comments, I just want to kind of give a quick response to this. I will be making another video about men go their own way somewhat time later. I mean, some of these comments, I suppose, I was always curious in men go their own way slightly, but some of these comments have sort of piqued my interest, because there seems to be a lot of passion regarding this. And I understand. Look, some of you might have gone through really bad experiences, really bad divorces, really bad relationships, or what have you. And I understand, perhaps when you guys feel like you're being picked at, it evokes, I guess, a very negative emotional response. That was not really my intention, and I'm not saying this because I was at all worried about some of the comments. Again, I genuinely don't care. I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So if you guys want to dislike videos, or if you guys want to troll me, I mean, hey, I suppose you can. But the issue with this is that, look, if a lot of you have such a terrible immediate response to any time someone just discusses what men go their own way is, that's a problem with your movement. Or excuse me, not movement. I got a lot of comments about don't call it a friggin' movement. This philosophy, okay? About this philosophy. It creates a problem with this philosophy because, I mean, you can't on one hand say that this philosophy is great or whatever, and on the other hand, get upset when anytime someone talks about it. I mean, are you guys really basically the same as Scientologists, where you immediately go after anyone that has any sort of disagreement with you whatsoever? So, look, this is my issue with men go their own way. And I know that you guys are going to disagree. A lot of comments were asking me, why am I shaming men? I am not shaming men, guys. If you are a man, whether you've been through bad relationships or not, if at any point you decide, regardless of your reason for this, if at any point you decide that, you know what, I don't want to be in relationships, or I think that I would be happier living the life of a bachelor, or perhaps even that I would be happier just having casual relationships but never leading to marriage or having kids. If you guys don't want that stuff and you think that you would genuinely be happier as a bachelor, there is no one shaming you. I'm not shaming you. I don't think anyone is shaming you. By all means, do it. The issue is that, look, when you guys say why you're doing it, it's one thing to say that, hey, listen, based on my experiences with women, I have dated a lot of nasty girls and they have convinced me that relationships are not the thing for me. That statement is 100% okay because you are not making a sweeping generalization. You are not saying that all girls, you're saying that all the girls you've been with have been like this. And that's perfectly acceptable because your experiences are your experiences. The issue is, and this is the issue that a lot of people would push back on, is that when you say based on my experiences, I am going to say that all women are fucked up, or that all women are evil and gold diggers, etc. Yes, you may have dated a woman that was a gold digger. Yes, you may have dated a woman that was a cheater. Yes, you may have dated a woman that was probably the worst human being on earth. But you can't take your personal anecdotal experiences and then use that to cast a wide net. I mean, I know that the comparison I'm about to make is going to piss a lot of you guys off, but imagine if I said, hey, listen, based on my experiences with black people, or based on my experiences with white people, or based on my experience with Asian people, they're all bad. Based on my friends' experiences with them, they're all bad. In a lot of ways, you're making the same sweeping generalizations that a lot of these other groups are making. No one has any issue with you saying, based on my experiences, I feel that it would be best for me if I did not date any women or if I was alone. But when you say that women are A, B, C, D, and E, and I can prove it based on my anecdotal experiences, that's when you start hitting a rock. That's when you start getting pushback. Because if, for example, if I were to say that, listen, all of my experiences with men go their own way have been in the comments that you guys left me. So imagine if I said that all men go their own way, or A, B, and C. Why? Because all of the comments people left me were pretty much comments where people were attacking me. Even the comments where people were being somewhat substantive to me, they were being condescending. They ended it with telling me that I was an idiot, or that I needed to learn something, or that I was not a man, etc., etc. So, I mean, I fully understand that you guys are not going to accept what I'm saying, but there is no one out there that has an issue. I've watched men go their own way. And a lot of these videos that I've watched are usually about how women are this, women are that, women are this. If you think that being a bachelor is entirely okay for you and that's what makes you happy, then 100% there is no one that has any right to tell you otherwise. But if you're saying that the reason I want to be a bachelor is because all of these people are A, B, and C, they're messed up, they're evil, they're gold diggers, etc., etc., that's a problem. And I mean, maybe some of you guys have real issues with women, but for some of you that are only thinking about dating, I mean, would you include your mothers in your definition of what women are like? Would you include your daughters or your sisters? And maybe some of you would. Maybe some of you have really bad relationships with your family, and that has ultimately also influenced or been a factor into how you feel. But I'm sure that there are others of you that would make an exception for your mother or for your sister or for your niece or for your daughter or for your cousin. So my original video was not to make fun of you guys. It was just really a video that I was doing with my friend. 100% do I disagree that women are all evil, etc., etc.? Yeah, 100% I disagree with it. But would I ever tell a guy, hey, you should not live the life of a bachelor if that's what you really want? No, I would not tell a guy. I would ask him why he feels that way, but I wouldn't tell him what is or is not good for him. I wouldn't try to quote unquote shame him. If a guy told me, hey, I have lots of friends who tell me I don't want to get married, who tell me I don't want to have kids, and that's totally cool. But what they don't say is, I don't want to have kids because women are all evil, or because women are all gold diggers, or because A, B, and C. So that's really the point of the video that I was making. I know that my friend and I didn't express it or articulate it perhaps in a clear way, but the fact is it just kind of came up in mid-conversation. It's not like the entire video is about men go their own way. We were just talking, relationships came up, and then men go their own way came up. And I think it was clear from the previous video that we did, that neither of us really knew anything about men go their own way. It was just a topic that came up. But the negative attention that it garnered was honestly surprising, because it shows that if you guys have problems with just regular people talking about a philosophy that you believe in, then it goes to show that, like, how angry are you people? And it goes to show that a lot of this movement is perhaps not based on a sort of rational thought. It perhaps is based on an emotional reaction to something that may have happened in your past. And if you are one of those people where something really terrible happened to you, of course, I sympathize and everything like that. But in the same way that if a woman was attacked by a group of men, or if a woman was raped by a group of men, what if she developed an irrational fear of all men? She said that all men are rapists. I'm sure lots of you guys would be like, yo, this woman is crazy. The experiences that you've had with women are not experiences that every single guy has had with women. There are lots of guys, I know lots of people that have healthy relationships, that have healthy marriages. That by itself means that, quote unquote, not all women or not all people are any certain specific way. Anyways, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to tell me to go to hell and to whatever else, tell me to go F myself or something. But to those people that have gone through really painful experiences, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, guys. I'm not trying to make fun of you. To those people who have not gone through any serious problems and that they're just like making fun of me, or they're just they just embrace this ideology for whatever reason. Like, if you're 18 years old and you've embraced this and you've embraced men go their own way, I think we can all agree that you don't really have the experience you don't have the experience where you can make a rational decision. Chances are you're entirely emotional and maybe you're bitter. But if you're in your 40s and your 50s and you've embraced this ideology, 100%, I'm sure that there are things that led to that, led to you embracing men go their own way. And if that's how you feel, man, that's how you feel, God bless. But at the same time, you can't make sweeping generalizations and say that all women are like this. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I do feel like I repeated myself over and over a couple times, so I'm just going to end it here. Thank you for watching. If you don't like the video, I guess there's really nothing I can do about that. If you liked it, think about subscribing. That would be cool. I don't talk about Men Go Their Own Way. I usually talk about either gaming. I do gaming videos, the occasional podcast video, the occasional review video. So yeah, this is a sort of everything channel, right? So if you guys enjoyed it, I suppose you can like it. I don't think most of you will like this video, however. And if you want to see more videos, by all means subscribe. And if not, that's cool too. Have an awesome day. This is Randumpz signing out.